First contact. The repair station floated in silence at the edge of human space. Most days, nothing happened here. Cargo ships passed by on their way to bigger worlds. The small station was only a place for refuel, repairs, and waiting. For the human engineer named Daniel, life was quiet and boring. Daniel was used to the sound of humming machines. He spent his nights checking broken panels and fixing old engines. He did not expect adventure. He did not expect danger. But on this night, his life changed forever. The alarm lights turned red. Sirens screamed through the empty halls. Daniel dropped his wrench and ran to the main console. The screen showed an unknown ship docking without permission. Its surface was scratched, burned, and smoking as if it had survived a battle. Daniel's heart raced. Pirates maybe, or smugglers. He knew the station had little defense. If they wanted to take supplies, no one could stop them. He grabbed a small plasma cutter, the only weapon he had, and moved toward the docking bay. The airlock hissed open. Steam rolled across the metal floor. Out of the mist stepped a figure, tall and shining. Her armor was broken, sparks flashing from deep cracks. The figure pulled off her helmet, and Daniel froze. She was not human. Her skin was pale silver, with a faint glow. Her eyes burned like two small stars, bright and fierce. Even wounded, she moved like a warrior. Her voice carried power as she spoke. "You, human, fix my armor now," she said. Her words were sharp, but her voice trembled. Daniel blinked, unsure if he was dreaming. An alien here on his station, and not just any alien. She looked royal. "But wait, who are you?" Daniel stammered. He could hardly speak. The alien's gaze narrowed. "I am Princess Serenia of the Clithar Empire," she said. "My enemies are close, and only you can repair this armor before they arrive." Daniel's brain struggled to keep up. Princess, empire, enemies, this was too much. He wanted to run, to hide, but something in her eyes stopped him. Behind the pride and anger there was fear. She was desperate, and she had chosen him. He stepped closer, carefully. "I'm an engineer, not a soldier," he said. "I fix engines, not alien battle suits." The princess gritted her teeth. Sparks from her chest plate lit the floor. "If you do not help, we will both die," she said. A loud thud shook the station. The walls groaned as something massive struck from outside. Daniel's console beeped with warnings. Another ship had entered orbit, dark, fast, and hostile. The princess's words were no bluff. Daniel swallowed hard. He looked at the broken armor. Its design was strange, elegant, far beyond human tech. Tiny symbols glowed faintly across the plates. Wires of light curled inside like veins. This was no normal armor. This was something alive. "All right," Daniel muttered. "I'll try." The princess nodded once, like a queen granting approval. She stepped toward him, her tall frame towering above. Daniel led her into the workshop. Tools and machines hummed as he pulled out scanners and cutters. The armor was complex. Each part seemed to resist his touch. But as he worked, the machines slowly responded. The glowing symbols brightened when his hands brushed the surface. The princess's eyes widened in shock. "It reacts to you," she whispered. Daniel frowned. "What does that mean?" But she did not answer. Instead, she turned her gaze to the docking bay door. Her jaw tightened as more explosions echoed outside. "Faster, human," she said. "They are coming." Daniel's hands shook as he tried to repair damaged circuits. He used human tools on alien design, but somehow the parts clicked together. It was like the armor understood him. Another blast rocked the station. Metal screamed. Lights flickered. Estes. Daniel almost dropped his tools. He turned to the princess, fear in his eyes. "Who is chasing you?" he asked. The princess lifted her head proudly, even with sparks still bursting from her chest plate. "They are hunters from the Zoran Dominion," she said. "They want my armor, they want my throne, and they will kill us both to get it." Daniel felt his throat dry. This was no simple repair job anymore. He was standing between two alien powers, one princess in broken armor, one enemy ship outside ready to strike, and he was the only one who could change what happened next. The princess locked her glowing eyes on him. "You are not just an engineer tonight, human," she said. "You are my last chance." Her words struck deep. For the first time in his life, Daniel realized he was part of something much bigger than himself. The workshop filled with sparks as the armor pulsed under his hands. The station shook again as the enemy drew closer. Time was running out, and Daniel's decision would decide if they lived or died. The repair. The station trembled like a dying beast. Panels cracked. Sparks rained down, and the sound of distant explosions echoed through the steel walls. Daniel's hands moved quickly, his heart hammering with fear. The alien princess stood tall beside him, her broken armor leaking streams of light like bleeding wounds. The workshop lights flickered. Every shake of the station reminded Daniel that time was running out. He grabbed a welding torch, cutting open a damaged chest plate. The armor hissed, glowing symbols flashing in protest, but instead of resisting him, the symbols bent and shifted as if guiding his hand. Daniel froze, sweat dripping down his face. "It's like the armor wants me to fix it," he whispered. The princess's silver eyes widened, sharp with suspicion. "No human should touch royal armor," she said slowly. "And yet, it answers to you." He swallowed hard. Her tone was half fear, half wonder, but there was no time to argue. Outside, the console screamed as enemy missiles locked on the station. They had minutes, maybe less. Daniel pulled out human tools, wires, clamps, scanners, things made for rusty engines, not alien royalty. Yet somehow, when he connected them, the armor adapted, metal plates shifted to fit, circuits reformed around his tools. The workshop filled with a strange hum like the sound of a heartbeat. The princess leaned closer, her face only inches from his. "Be careful, human," she said, her voice low but heavy. "This armor is not only protection, it is my blood, my birthright, my bond to the throne." Daniel glanced at her, shocked. "You mean this suit decides who rules your people?" Her silence was the answer. Daniel's hands trembled, but he kept working. If he failed, she would die, and so would he. If he succeeded, he had no idea what it would mean. The armor pulsed brighter with every repair, as though it was waking up. A loud boom shook the station harder than before. Daniel's console flared red. The enemy ship was docking, claws latching onto the station walls. "They're boarding," Daniel muttered, panic in his voice. The princess turned toward the door, her broken gauntlet sparking. She raised her arm, forcing the damaged weapon to charge, but the energy flickered weakly. She looked back at him, her eyes burning with fury and urgency. "Faster, human," she snapped. "They will cut through that door any moment." Daniel pushed harder, slamming wires into place. He almost screamed when the armor suddenly lit up under his hands, the plates sealed with a deep metallic echo. The glowing symbols blazed like fire, casting shadows on the walls. The princess gasped sharply as the armor reattached itself around her body. It was not finished, not perfect, but it was alive again. The hum grew louder, the heartbeat of something ancient and powerful. Daniel staggered back, his chest rising in folly. I think it's working," he said. The princess flexed her arm and light flowed across the plates like rivers of silver. She smiled faintly, but her smile was sharp, dangerous. "You have done more than fix it, human," she said. "You have awakened it." Her words chilled Daniel to the core. Before he could reply, the docking bay door screeched, metal tearing apart. Shadows moved in the smoke. Figures stepped through, tall, armored hunters with glowing red visors. Their weapons hummed with lethal energy. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. The Zoran Dominion had arrived. The princess stepped forward, her half-repaired armor glowing like starlight. Her voice thundered in the small room. "You dare chase me into human space?" The hunters laughed, a deep metallic sound. "The throne will fall, princess," one growled, "and your armor will belong to the Dominion." Daniel gripped his plasma cutter, his hands shaking. He was no warrior, but he refused to stand useless. The princess raised her hand, light flaring from her gauntlet. Her armor hummed with power, responding to her command. But Daniel noticed something. The light also pulsed in time with his own heartbeat. For a second, he froze. Why was her royal armor connected to him, a human nobody? The thought made his stomach twist. But before he could speak, the hunters opened fire. Energy blasts lit the workshop like lightning. The princess moved like a storm. Even with her armor still damaged, she blocked the shots with blinding shields of light. Her blade formed from raw energy, cutting through one attacker's weapon in a single strike. The hunters roared, pressing forward. Sparks flew, steel groaned, the whole station shook under the battle. Daniel ducked behind a console, his mind racing. He could not fight like her, but maybe he could help another way. His eyes darted to the armor's exposed panel, still not sealed. If he could finish the repair during the fight, maybe the armor would reach its full strength, maybe it would save them both. He crawled low, grabbing tools. The princess fought, every move graceful and deadly, but she was outnumbered. Her breathing grew heavy, her strikes slower. Daniel's hands worked fast, tightening wires, fusing plates. The armor's light burned brighter, filling the room with blinding silver. The hunters hesitated, shielding their eyes. The princess turned, her gaze meeting Daniel's. In her look was both command and trust. "Finish it," she said, her voice a storm. Daniel slammed the last panel shut, sparks flying, the armor roared to life, a wave of energy surging through the room. The hunters staggered back, their visors cracking under the blast. The princess stood tall, her armor whole once more. She looked like a living star, untouchable and terrifying. Her voice rang with fire. "Now, it is your turn to run." The hunters faltered, but their leader raised his blade. "This is not the end, princess," he hissed. "The Dominion will have what it wants." They retreated into the smoke, vanishing back into the broken station. Silence fell, heavy and sharp. Daniel collapsed against the wall, his chest aching from the chaos. The princess turned to him, her silver eyes glowing like fire. "You repaired more than my armor," she said softly. "You bound yourself to it." Daniel's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" he whispered. The princess stepped closer, towering above him. "You are no longer only an engineer human," she said. "You are part of my fate now." Her words carried a weight that Daniel could not yet understand, but deep inside he knew the truth. This was only the beginning. The escape. The station groaned under the weight of the Dominion's claws, metal walls bent, sparks rained from broken circuits, and the smell of burning steel filled the air. Daniel's hands were shaking, but he forced himself to keep moving. The princess stood tall in her now repaired armor, her silver eyes glowing with fury, but the enemy was not gone. The hunters' retreat had only been a test, a taste of their strength. Through the cracked walls, Daniel could hear the low hum of their warship circling like a predator. "They are not finished," the princess said coldly. "They are waiting to crush us when we try to run." Daniel's throat tightened. His whole life had been about fixing machines, not escaping alien wars, but now there was no choice. The station was breaking apart, and if they stayed, they would die. He grabbed his small shuttle key and looked at the princess. "There's a transport docked in the lower bay," he said quickly. "It's old, slow, but it can fly." The princess tilted her head, studying him. "Then we go," she said, her voice sharp like steel. "You will fly. I will fight." The ground shook, throwing Daniel against the wall. He bit back a cry as the lights failed, plunging the corridor into darkness. Only the glow of the princess's armor lit the path ahead. "Stay close, human," she said, and her voice carried a strange power. It was not just an order. It was a promise of protection. They moved fast through the narrow halls. Every corner was filled with smoke and fire. Twisted metal blocked their path, and Daniel had to cut through it with his plasma tool. The sound of claws on steel echoed behind them. The hunters were following. Daniel's heart pounded. He was not built for running or fighting, but every time he stumbled, the princess's hand caught his arm, pulling him forward with strength that felt unshakable. The hunters' voices hissed in the shadows. "Run, little human. Run while you still can." The lower bay came into sight. Daniel's shuttle was waiting, small, battered, but alive. Its engine lights flickered weakly, as if it already knew the danger ahead. The princess stepped forward, placing herself between Daniel and the pursuing hunters. "Board it," she ordered, her armor glowing brighter. Daniel hesitated. He wanted to argue, wanted to tell her they should run together. But the hunters charged from the smoke, red visors blazing, weapons raised. The princess roared, her armor exploding with light. A barrier of silver energy rose around her, catching the first blasts. Daniel scrambled into the shuttle. His fingers flew over the controls, activating systems he had repaired 100 times. But the old shuttle was slow, groaning as engines sputtered to life. "Hurry," he muttered. "Come on, come on." The console screamed in protest, but the engines flared. Behind him, the sound of battle shook the bay. The princess's blade cut through hunters with strikes faster than human eyes could follow. Energy blasts lit the walls with fire. One hunter fell, then another, But more kept coming. She fought like a storm, but even storms can break. Daniel slammed his hand on the console. The shuttle roared awake, engines burning brighter. He turned to the bay doors. They were locked, sealed by Dominion control. His stomach dropped. Without those doors open, they were trapped. The princess saw his struggle. She raised her gauntlet, her armor pulsing with furious light. A beam of pure energy burst from her hand, striking the bay doors. Steel melted like wax. Fire erupted. The doors tore apart, revealing the endless dark of space beyond. Daniel's eyes widened. She was more powerful than he had imagined, but the hunters were not done. One leapt at her from behind, blade aimed at her neck. Daniel shouted, "Behind you." She spun too slow this time. The hunter's blade cut deep across her armor, sparks bursting. The princess stumbled, blood glimmering silver against the floor. Daniel's heart froze. Without thinking, he grabbed the shuttle's cannon control and fired. A blast of plasma struck the hunter, throwing him into the wall. The princess looked back at him, pain in her eyes, but also something new. Respect. She staggered onto the shuttle ramp, her armor cracked, her breathing heavy. "Fly," she whispered, her voice weak but commanding. Daniel didn't hesitate. The shuttle blasted out of the bay, fire trailing behind it. Dominion ships turned instantly, weapons locking onto the small craft. "Too slow," Daniel muttered, slamming the throttle. The shuttle groaned as if it would tear apart, but the princess stepped forward, blood on her lips, her hand glowing. She pressed her palm against the shuttle wall. Suddenly the engine screamed louder, faster, stronger. The old craft surged forward like it had been reborn. Daniel stared in shock. "She's powering it," he whispered. The Dominion ships fired, beams of light tearing through space. Daniel twisted the shuttle, weaving between blasts. Sweat poured down his face, his body shaking, but the princess stood tall, her glowing hand feeding the engines with energy. Together, they moved as one. A missile streaked toward them. Daniel yanked the shuttle hard, but the missile followed. His heart sank. There was no way out. But the princess turned, lifting her other arm. The armor pulsed with burning silver. The missile exploded before it reached them. The blast rocked the shuttle but did not destroy it. Daniel gasped, his chest tight. She looked back at him, her silver eyes fierce even through pain. "Do not stop, human," she said. "We are not safe yet." The shuttle broke free from the Dominion's claws, racing into the cold void, but Daniel knew this was only the beginning. The Dominion would not stop, not after tonight, and the princess, this alien warrior who called herself royal, now depended on him more than ever, the secret of the armor. The shuttle drifted into the silent void. Behind them, the Dominion ships shrank into the distance, their red lights fading into stars. The old craft creaked with every movement, but for now, it held together. Inside the cockpit, Daniel's hands trembled over the controls, his breath ragged. He glanced at the princess. She leaned against the wall, her armor cracked, silver blood dripping slowly. Her eyes glowed dim, weaker than before, yet even wounded, she looked unbroken, like fire wrapped in steel. Daniel reached for a medkit, fumbling with shaking hands. "You're bleeding," he said. The princess looked down, as if only now noticing the wound. "It is nothing," she whispered, but her voice cracked. Daniel pressed the patch against her side. She did not flinch, but her eyes locked on his. "Why did the armor react to me?" he asked quietly. His voice shook, but not from fear of her, from fear of the truth. The princess studied him in silence, her silver gaze heavy. At last she spoke. "The royal armor chooses its bond," she said slowly. "It should never answer to a human." Daniel blinked. Her words sank into his chest like stones. "You're saying it chose me?" The princess's jaw tightened. "Yes," she said. "And that is impossible." The shuttle shuddered as if agreeing with her. Daniel leaned back, struggling to breathe. He was a mechanic, nothing more. And yet the armor of an alien empire pulsed under his hands like it knew him. It made no sense. The princess touched her chest plate. The glowing symbols rippled like living veins across the armor. "Only the blood of my line should awaken it," she whispered. "But when you repaired it, it opened to you. It shared power with you." She looked at him sharply. "What are you, human?" Daniel almost laughed, bitter and broken. "I'm nobody," he said. "I fix engines, I scrape rust. I eat cold meals alone on a forgotten station. But the princess did not look convinced. Her gaze grew sharper. You are something more, she said, and that terrifies me. For a moment, silence filled the shuttle. Only the hum of the engines echoed through the void. Daniel wanted to deny it, to push the truth away, but deep inside he felt the connection too. The armor's glow had matched his heartbeat. It had breathed with him, trusted him. The princess staggered, her strength fading. Daniel caught her before she fell. For a second their hands touched, and the armor pulsed like thunder. Light spread across the walls, alive and bright. Daniel jerked back, his chest pounding. Her silver eyes widened. It responds stronger when you touch me, she whispered. This has never happened in all of Clethar history. Daniel shook his head. This has to be a mistake. But neither of them believed his words. Before they could speak again, the console beeped sharply. Daniel turned, his stomach sinking. A new signal glowed on the scanner. Another ship, larger, faster, closing in. His throat went dry. They found us, he whispered. The princess straightened, her pain forgotten. Her eyes burned once more. Then we must leave this sector before they lock us, she said. But this shuttle is too slow, Daniel muttered, panic rising. It can't outrun them. The princess touched the wall again. The shuttle's engines roared louder, stronger, fueled by her armor. Daniel felt the ship surge under his hands, but the scanner screamed. More Dominion ships surrounded them, 4, maybe 5, closing fast. They want the armor, the princess whispered. Her eyes narrowed, sharp as blades. They will destroy the galaxy to take it. Daniel stared at her, fear twisting inside him. What is this armor? Really? He demanded. Her silence was heavy like a blade over his neck. Finally she spoke. It is the crown of light, she said softly, forged from the heart of our first star. Daniel froze, the words chilling him. That's not just armor, he whispered. Her gaze cut into him. It is our throne, she said. It is our empire. The revelation crushed him. He had not just repaired armor, he had touched the very heart of an alien kingdom. And now, every enemy in the stars would hunt them, because the armor had chosen him. A human outsider, the shuttle jolted as enemy fire struck near. Daniel snapped back to the controls, weaving through blasts of light. The princess steadied herself, placing her hand on the wall again. The engines screamed louder, pushing past their limits. But Daniel saw the truth. She was bleeding more. Each surge of power drained her. You're killing yourself, he shouted. The princess's lips curved into a faint smile. If my death keeps the armor from the Dominion, it is worth it, she whispered. Daniel's chest burned with anger. Not while I'm here, he growled. The armor pulsed again, stronger than ever. The symbols across her chest flared. The engine surged without her touch. Daniel gasped. It's responding to me again. The princess looked at him with something new in her eyes. Not just respect, not just fear, something deeper. Then maybe, she whispered, maybe it has already chosen its consort. Her words hung heavy in the air. Daniel's breath caught, his heart racing. But there was no time to answer. The Dominion ships closed in, their weapons burning like suns. Daniel tightened his grip on the controls. If the armor had chosen him, then he would fight, not as a soldier, not as a king, but as the only human bound to an alien crown. The engines roared, the shuttle dived into the darkness. The chase had only begun. The betrayal. The shuttle finally slipped into a quiet sector of space. No Dominion warships followed. No red lights burned in the scanner. Only the endless stars stretched across the dark, cold sky. Daniel's shoulders sank with relief, but his hands still trembled on the controls. Beside him, Princess Serenia closed her eyes, her armor cracked and pulsing weakly. She was exhausted, her breath shallow. But even in her weakness, she looked unshaken, like a flame refusing to die. Daniel turned toward her, his voice low. You can't keep draining yourself like that, he said. She opened her eyes slowly, her silver gaze fixed on him. If I do not, the Dominion will take everything, she whispered. But you, your touch, awakens the armor without killing it. Daniel's chest tightened, The thought terrified him. But before he could reply, the console beeped. A faint signal flashed across the screen, an encrypted beacon. The princess's eyes lit with recognition. "It is one of ours," she said, her voice firm. "My guards have found us." Daniel hesitated. After everything, the idea of more soldiers made his stomach twist, but Serenya's expression was steady. "They will protect us now," she said. The beacon led them to a hidden outpost tucked behind an asteroid. A sleek alien ship floated silently, its design smooth and sharp. As they approached, docking arms extended, pulling the shuttle inside. For the first time since the attack, Daniel felt a spark of hope. The bay doors closed, sealing them in safety. Figures rushed forward. Tall, armored guards with glowing spears. They bowed as the princess stepped onto the ramp. "Your Highness," one said, his voice deep. "We feared you lost." Serenia stood tall despite her wounds. "I am not so easy to kill," she said coldly. Then her hand touched Daniel's shoulder, guiding him forward. "This human saved me, repaired the crown and fogs. And beside me." Her words echoed through the bay like thunder. The guards turned their visors toward Daniel. Their silence felt heavier than the station walls had. At last the leader spoke, his voice sharp with disdain. "A human touched the crown?" His words dripped with disbelief. "Blasphemy!" another guard hissed. Daniel froze, heat rushing to his face. He wanted to defend himself, but Serenya's hand pressed firmly against him. Her eyes burned with authority. "He saved my life, and the armor accepted him," she declared. "He is not blasphemy. He is chosen." The guards exchanged dark glances, but they bowed, at least on the surface. Still, Daniel felt the weight of their hatred pressing on him like a shadow. He could almost hear their thoughts. A human consort? Unworthy. They guided them through polished halls of silver and black. Alien lights glowed softly on the walls. Daniel followed closely behind Serenya, but unease crawled through his chest. Every guard's stare felt like a blade at his back. Finally, they entered a chamber filled with glowing crystals. Energy pulsed in the walls, humming like a living heart. Serenya sank to one knee, exhaustion catching her at last. Daniel moved to help, but the leader of the guards stepped between them. "Stand back, human," he growled. Daniel clenched his fists. Before he could argue, the princess's voice cut through the chamber. "He will not stand back," she said, her tone sharp as steel. "He stands with me." The guard's jaw tightened, but he obeyed. For a moment, Daniel felt relief, but then he noticed something strange. The guards did not leave even after she dismissed them. Their eyes lingered on him with more than suspicion. There was hunger in their gaze. Later, as Serenya rested in a chamber of healing light, Daniel wandered into the hall, unable to shake his unease. He caught the whisper of voices in the shadows. "The armor chose him," one guard muttered. "It should never choose a human." "Then we take it," another replied coldly. "If the crown binds to him, kill him and strip it from his corpse." Daniel's blood ran cold, his chest tightened with fear, but worse, with betrayal. He stumbled back, heart pounding, but before he could retreat, a hand seized his shoulder. The leader of the guards loomed over him, visor burning red in the dim light. "You don't belong here, human," he whispered, his voice low and deadly. "You are not worthy of her, nor the crown." Daniel shoved his hand away, anger burning through fear. "I didn't ask for this," he hissed. The guard's lips curled into a cruel smile. "And yet, it happened," he said. "Do you know what that means, human? You are a threat." Suddenly, a spear blade hissed to life, glowing inches from Daniel's chest. Before it could strike, the chamber door slid open. Light spilled in, and Serenya's voice thundered through the hall. "Enough!" she roared. Her armor pulsed with silver fire as she stepped forward. Her eyes blazed with fury. "Did you think I would not hear your treachery?" she demanded. The guards froze, their weapons lowering, but the leader did not bow. "He is an outsider," the guard growled. "He will bring ruin to us all." Serenya's voice cracked like lightning. "He repaired the crown, he saved me, and the armor answered to him." Her voice lowered, cold and sharp. "Do you dare defy the will of the crown itself?" The chamber shook with silence. Finally, the guards bowed, though their eyes still burned with hatred. Daniel's heart pounded, his chest heavy. He had seen death in their eyes. He knew this was not over. Serenia turned to him, her gaze softer now. "Do not fear them," she said. "You are under my protection." Daniel nodded, but inside, he felt the truth clawing at him. He was not safe, not here, not anywhere. The princess's people had saved them, but within these walls another war was already beginning, and this time the knives were aimed at his back, the Consort's trial. The chamber of judgment glowed with a cold silver light. Dozens of armored guards stood in silent rows, their faces hidden behind sharp visors. At the center, Princess Serenia stood tall, her royal armor gleaming faintly despite its cracks. Daniel stood beside her, his stomach twisting with dread. The whispers filled the hall like snakes hissing in the dark. "The human touched the crown," one voice said. "He cannot be trusted," another spat. Daniel could feel their hatred like a weight pressing against his chest. Every gaze was a blade waiting to cut him down. The High Elder of the Clithar people stepped forward, tall, thin, his armor black as night, his eyes glowing like pale fire. He raised his staff, and the chamber fell silent. "Princess Serenia," the elder said, his voice deep and echoing. "You claim this human is chosen by the crown." Serenia's voice rang with strength. "I do not claim I witnessed," she said. "He repaired it, he awakened it, and it responded to him." The elder turned his gaze to Daniel, sharp and cold. "Then let the crown judge for itself," he said. Daniel's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice unsteady. The elder's lips curled faintly. "If you are truly chosen, human, you will survive the trial of consorts." The guards murmured, their whispers rising like fire. Serenia's eyes narrowed, her jaw tight. "This is madness," she snapped. "No outsider has ever faced the trial." The elder bowed his head slightly. "Then let us see if this one is truly no outsider." Daniel's throat dried. He didn't know what the trial was, but from the hunger in the guard's eyes, he knew it wasn't kind. Serenia touched his arm, her voice low. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. But Daniel shook his head. "If I don't, they'll never stop coming after me." And he said, the elder raised his staff. "Begin," he commanded. The floor shifted beneath Daniel's feet, the chamber walls peeled away like shadows, replaced by a vast arena of black stone and fire. The air burned hot, the ground cracked with glowing veins of energy. From the far side a gate opened, releasing something monstrous. It was a beast unlike anything Daniel had ever seen. 4 legs, a body covered in sharp crystal plates. Its eyes burned like molten gold, its mouth dripping with sparks of fire. The guards cheered, their voices cold and cruel. "The beast of judgment," one shouted. Daniel stumbled back, his chest tight with terror. He had no weapons, no armor, nothing but his mind and a plasma cutter strapped to his belt. The beast roared, the sound shaking the ground like thunder. Serenia slammed her hand against the barrier that separated her from the trial. "Stop this," she shouted, but the elder's voice cut through. "If he is chosen, he will survive." The beast charged, stone cracking under its weight. Daniel ran, his heart hammering in his throat. Every instinct screamed at him to give up, to accept death. But then his eyes caught something, the glowing veins in the stone. The cracks pulsed in rhythm, just like the armor had. Daniel's mind raced. The arena was alive, connected to the same energy as the crown. If he could use it, maybe he could survive. He darted toward one of the glowing lines, the beast crashing behind him. At the last second, he leapt aside, the beast's claw slamming into the ground. The energy in the crack flared, reacting to the strike. Daniel's eyes widened. The arena itself could fight the beast, if he was clever enough. He ran again, shouting, waving his arms, drawing the monster toward another glowing crack. The beast lunged, its claws smashing the stone. This time, the ground erupted with a blast of silver fire. The beast roared in pain, staggering back, its crystal armor smoking. The Gaunt and Yords fell silent, shock running through their ranks. Daniel's chest burned with hope. He had no blade, no strength, but he had his wits. Again and again he led the beast into the cracks. Each strike unleashed bursts of energy that burned its armor away. Daniel's lungs screamed, his legs ached, but he refused to stop. He would not die here, not for their amusement. Finally, the beast collapsed with a thunderous crash, its golden eyes dimmed, its body crumbling into dust. Daniel stood trembling, his chest heaving, His hands bled from stone and fire, but he was alive. The arena pulsed once, then faded. The chamber returned, silent and heavy. The elder's eyes narrowed. "The trial does not lie," he said, his voice dark. "The crown has chosen." The guards shifted uneasily, their anger mixed with fear. Serenia rushed to Daniel's side, her eyes burning with fierce pride. "You see," she shouted at them, "he is no outsider, he is my consort." Her words cracked like thunder, shaking the hall. The guards bowed, but Daniel could still feel their hatred under the surface. Respect born from fear was not the same as loyalty. Daniel leaned against her, his voice rough. "I didn't fight that thing for them," he said. Her silver eyes softened as she looked at him. "I know," she whispered. "You fought for me." And though the chamber was filled with silence, Daniel realized something deeper. The trial had not only tested him, it had bound him even closer to her, and in that bond lay both strength and danger. For now, he was no longer just an engineer, he was the human consort of an alien princess. But the Dominion would not stop, and neither would those who hated him inside her own people. The war was only sharpening its teeth. The final choice. The halls of the Clithar stronghold trembled with alarms. Red light flooded the chamber, echoing with the thunder of war drums. Daniel staggered to his feet, still bruised from the trial. Serenia's eyes burned with fury as she stared at the flashing consoles. "The Dominion has come," a guard shouted, panic in his voice. "They found us." Daniel's chest tightened. He knew this moment would come, but he never thought it would be so soon. Through the crystal windows of the stronghold, the sky outside boiled with fire. Dark Dominion warships poured into orbit, their weapons glowing with cruel red light. The ground shook as explosions tore across the defense walls. The Clithar warriors rushed to their stations, but their fear was clear. The Dominion had come to end everything. Serenia stood tall, her cracked armor pulsing with silver fire. She raised her blade and her voice thundered through the chamber. "Prepare for battle, for crown and for home." The guards roared, their fear swallowed by her command. But Daniel saw the truth in their eyes. They still doubted him. He turned to Serenia, his voice low. "They're here for the armor, not your people," he said. "They'll burn everything just to take it." She looked at him, her gaze fierce and unshaken. "Then we fight until nothing remains," she whispered. The ground quaked violently. The Dominion's claws tore into the stronghold walls, ripping stone and crystal apart. Hunters in black armor stormed through, their red visors cutting the smoke. The battle began in fire and chaos. Daniel grabbed a fallen guard's spear, the weapon humming in his hands. He was no soldier, but he refused to stand aside. Beside him, Serenia fought like a storm, her armor blazing with fury. She cut through hunters like fire through dry wood, her movements fast and merciless. But for every enemy that fell, two more entered, the Verselm. Stronghold shook as a massive shadow blocked the sky. The Dominion flagship descended, its cannons glowing like suns. Daniel's blood turned cold. If that ship fired, the stronghold would be ash. He looked at the princess, her armor flickering with strain. "Your armor can't hold this forever," he shouted. She struck down another hunter, her face grim. "Then I will die with my people," she said. Daniel's heart twisted. "No," he growled. "There's another way." The armor pulsed on her chest, the glowing veins alive with power. Daniel felt it tug at him, calling. The bond they shared was stronger now, burning inside him like fire. He stepped toward her, his voice shaking. "If it answered to me before, maybe it will again." Her eyes widened, fear flashing in them for the first time. "No, Daniel," she said. "If you accept the bond fully, you will never be the same. The armor will claim you. It will make you part of the throne, part of me." Her voice trembled, but not from weakness, from something deeper. "Once you choose, you cannot turn back." The stronghold walls cracked as the flagship's cannons charged. The roar of the Dominion grew louder. Daniel looked at the burning sky, at the terrified faces of her people, at the princess who had trusted him when no one else would. And he knew there was no choice. He placed his hand over the armor's core. Light exploded around them, blinding and alive. The chamber shook, the ground split, the crown of light pulsed like a living star. It did not resist him. This time it welcomed him. The power surged into his body, fire and lightning coursing through his veins. Daniel gasped. his vision blazing white, the armor's symbols wrapped around his skin, glowing even through his clothes. Serenia staggered. Her breath caught. You are linked now, she whispered. You are my consort. The Dominion flagship fired, a beam of fire roar, toward the stronghold, but Daniel raised his hand. The light burst from him, a shield of silver energy stretching across the sky. The cannon's blast shattered against it, echoing like thunder. The guards froze, awe flooding their faces. Even Serenia's eyes widened. Daniel stood in the center of the chamber, his body blazing with the same light as her armor. For the first time, the crown had two bearers, and together they were unstoppable. He turned to her, his voice stronger than it had ever been. We end this together. She smiled, fierce and proud. Yes, consort, she said, together. They surged into battle side by side. Every strike of her blade was matched by a blast of light from Daniel's hands. The hunters fell one by one, their red visors shattering. The stronghold roared with fire and fury. But for the first time, the Clithar believed. The Dominion flagship shuddered under their assault. Its cannons cracked, its armor peeled away. Daniel and Serenia fought like two halves of the same storm, her fire and his light bound together by the crown. The enemy had no chance. When the final blast tore through the flagship, it erupted in flames, breaking apart in the sky. The Dominion fleet scattered, fleeing into the void. The battlefield fell silent, broken only by the crackle of fire. The guards stared in shock, then knelt, their voices rising in unison. Hail the princess, hail the consort. Daniel stood trembling, the light fading slowly from his body. He looked at Serenia, her silver eyes soft but unyielding. You are not only my savior now, she said. You are part of me, forever. Daniel's throat tightened. He had come from a lonely station, nothing but a mechanic, and now he was bound to an alien throne, to a princess who had called him her consort. The war was not over. The Dominion would return. But Daniel knew one thing with burning certainty. He was no longer running from fate. He had chosen it. The stars burned bright above the broken stronghold. A new story had begun.